From how ships are designed to how passengers are enticed to spend more money on board, cruise lines have some very clever secrets hidden right in plain sight. These cruise secrets can make you a smarter passenger and maybe help explain some things that you've always wondered about sailing. Here are 8 things hidden in plain sight for your next cruise. What might a ship's carpet or a door marker be hiding? An important clue to help you get around the ship. If you've ever sailed on Norwegian Cruise Line, then you might notice that the carpet in the cabin hallways has tons of little fish on it, and you'll see that they're all swimming in the same direction. If you head with the fish, then you are walking forward on the ship. Head against the fish, and you're going aft. On Royal Caribbean, the door markers can give you some clues. Some may have the image of the ship, which will be pointing forward. Others have a small arrow, like you see on the gas gauge of your car. Older ships, they have signs in the shape of a wave. The higher end of the wave, it points the way forward on the vessel. These small features are hardly noticed by most people, but they can make a world of difference in getting around the ship to those that know to look for them. Want to know what is hidden under the water on your cruise ship? Look a little closer at the hull the next time that you're off the ship. What look like hieroglyphics are actually symbols telling the crew and others important information about the vessel under the waves. Let's start with one that you'll see in the front of every ship. This strange marking is one that tells others that the ship has a bulbous bow. That means there's this nose that sticks out in front of the ship, but it's usually hidden under the water. This design, it helps the ship move through the water more efficiently. Another strange symbol that you'll see are circles with an X through them, normally in groups of 3. These are where there are thrusters installed on the ship to help it maneuver. Unlike a propeller at the back of the ship, these thrusters, they sit perpendicular to the length of the ship, allowing it to push toward or away from a dock sideways. Finally, you might see a strange shape that almost looks like the outline of a key with a larger square and then a rectangle jutting out. This marker, it is for the ship's stabilizers. These stabilizers, they jut out under the waterline like fins to help reduce the rocking of the ocean. These symbols help other boats know what's going on under the water so that they don't get too close to these areas. What you may not realize is the careful thought that went into how the ship is laid out. Cruise ships, they can carry up to 6,000 passengers. There has to be a strategy to where things are on the ship to avoid overcrowding in one spot. For instance, what's the popular thing to do in the evening? You head to dinner and then a show. But you'll notice that the two are almost always on opposite ends of the ship. It makes sense given that they are large multi-story venues that need behind the scenes space to put them where there is the most area available, but it also helps to spread out crowds across the whole ship during the evenings. It's something similar with the location of the casino, for example. You'll notice it's always centrally located, and you often have to pass through it, or at least an entrance to get from one end of the ship to the other. Giving the casino more foot traffic can lead to more players inside of it. And there are often multiple pools on the newest ships with them spread out along the length of the pool deck to help spread out those big crowds from being only in the center of the ship. It all adds up as clever design that helps to make the experience much more enjoyable on board. The largest hotel in the world is the First World Hotel in Malaysia. The largest in the United States is the Venetian or Palazzo complex in Las Vegas, followed closely by the MGM Grand. Each one has about 7,000 rooms. Cruise ships, they aren't that large, but they do rank as some of the largest hotels in the world, though you rarely see them on a list. Royal Caribbean's Oasis class ships, the largest cruise ships in the world, they have about 2,800 staterooms. That would place them around 35th on the list of the largest hotels on the planet, and roughly the size of Paris, Treasure Island, or Bally's in Las Vegas. The only difference, a cruise ship has to do everything a Las Vegas resort does, except on the water. When it comes to the ship, there's an entire other world that's hidden from passengers that you'll only see glimpses of as you head around the vessel. For passengers, the vast majority of the cruise ship is wide open and beautiful, but on the lower decks and behind certain doors, you'll find the crew-only areas. While there are thousands of passengers, there are also thousands of crew on a modern ship, and they are all there to give you the best vacation possible. Behind the scenes are areas where the crew lives and relaxes, including their cabins, their recreational areas, and even sometimes their own pools. That's not to mention all of the back of house areas required to feed and entertain passengers, as well as operating an entire cruise ship from generating electricity to water to actually moving the ship through the ocean. There are some tours offered for behind the scenes areas, but the only time most people will see them is when they're getting on and off the ship in port. The gangways, they're located on the lowest decks where more crew areas are located as well. Take a wrong turn and you might end up in a crew-only area where you aren't supposed to be. One of the biggest secrets about cruising is one that many people, especially if they've never sailed before, don't realize, and that is that the cruising never stops. When you head to your ship on cruise day, you may not know that just hours ago, there were thousands of different passengers there. And in just a few short hours, the ship had to be emptied of thousands of passengers, rooms readied for the new passengers, all the trash and waste taken off from the previous trip, and then the ship has to be resupplied for the next trip. It's all done in a matter of hours. The ship comes in early in the morning, often docking before the sun rises, and then it heads out again that afternoon or evening. It's not the case where a ship comes in one evening, readies itself overnight, and then welcomes a new group of passengers the next day. Instead, the break between one cruise to the next, it can be measured in just hours. If you're sailing from the US, then it's easy to think that the ship is, well, American. Almost always, however, the ship you are sailing on is actually a foreign vessel. Since cruise ships are international in nature, it makes sense to flag them in the areas that are most friendly to their needs. This practice is what's known as using a flag of convenience. It's similar to the way that many corporations in the United States that are located in Delaware, despite possibly having limited operations there. But when it comes to flagging ships, one thing stands out as the biggest factor: lower costs. Specifically, the cost of crewing the vessel and the cost of operating the ship, they can be much higher in the United States versus some foreign countries. According to a report from the US Department of Transportation, the average daily crew cost for US flag merchant ships was approximately 5.3 times that of foreign flag vessels. Now, this report, it didn't look specifically at cruise ships, but as you know, cruise ships have a large number of staff. Ships registered in the US, they have to hire American citizens to crew the ships to comply with American law. But foreign flag vessels from certain countries, they can hire from less expensive foreign labor pools. Now, for you, the cruise is a vacation. For the cruise line, it's most definitely a business. That means getting you to spend more is the name of the game. There are two ways hidden in plain sight that you may not realize that get you to open your wallet a little wider. First are the room key cards that double as a credit card for spending around the ship. Not only does all spending being on the card make things easier than dealing with cash and change, but studies have shown again and again that people tend to spend more when paying with a credit card than with cash. Exactly how much? It varies based on the study, but the trend is undeniable. So not only can the cards be more convenient around the ship, but they also potentially mean people could spend more while on their cruise. Second, when you buy your cruise, you might have noticed cruise lines using bundling. This is just an industry term of grouping things together when you buy. So instead of buying a cruise and a drink package separately, you buy them together, or it's included when you purchase the cruise. Why offer this sort of deal? This bundling, it can lead you to spend more. Industry executives call it having a fresh wallet. Since you already paid for the bundle package months ago, it means you are essentially starting over on the ship. So instead of boarding and dropping hundreds on a drink package, right at the start of the cruise and then feeling more cautious about your budget the rest of the trip, you feel like you have more money to spend while on the ship since it was already paid for months ago. The end result is passengers spending more. I've shared some secrets about cruising and the industry that are hidden in plain sight, but there are plenty more out there. If you have cruised before, what are some things that many people may not realize? Let your fellow cruise passengers know in the comments below. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to Cruzely for more tips and advice on your next cruise, or you can always visit Cruzely.com for thousands of articles on cruising. Until next time, happy sailing.